a talk between Manchester City fans and Nedum is, oh, this is Arsenal, a team that are trying to fight for the title, yet they come to us and they park the bus.
To be honest, I don't think it was Arsenal's intention to park the bus. I think they would have accepted the fact that City would have had possession, but I don't think Arsenal would have wanted to come in with 28%. Otherwise, the personnel probably would have been different. Yes, there were lots of centre-backs on the field, but you still had Odegaard, you had a Jesus, you had a Havertz, you had a Saka. Like, Saka's memory of that game is going to be him mostly just tracking back and then one cross into the box as such. So, yeah, I don't think they necessarily parked the bus, but this is Arsenal. Like, they have statistically the best defence this season. The nature of the chances they're giving up are far harder to score against than, say, other sides in the league at this moment in time. And it's because of that high press. It's because of the way the midfield follow up with them. But then in times when they're facing a bit of pressure, the organisation right behind them is great as well. I think City got to sort of face that today. I think in some ways I was happier to see the changes from Guardiola, where he's bringing on a Doku and a Grealish, and they tried to focus a bit more of sort of like pace out wide. I know Jan said it wasn't enough, which is kind of fair. But I think Arsenal, ultimately, they accepted this is the way that was going to go, the game was going to go. And I think that idea as well of taking a point, for me, it feels like the City game versus Liverpool a couple of weeks ago. Going into the game, City would have wanted to win it. But based on how the game went, you're thinking to yourself, let's just be glad that we can take something from this. And I think that was the case for Arsenal today. Because if they would have had more possession, more opportunities, I don't think a point in their mind would have been something for them to be proud of.
And Nedum, is there any... You look at that 90 minutes, I understand the way that Arsenal defend, make it very difficult to play the sort of football that Manchester City do. But were you not disappointed there wasn't that little bit of spark from, your match winners like Foden, like De Bruyne, like Haaland, like Silva?
Yeah, I think there was disappointment as such. But again, the first two games between the two sides was very, very similar. I think they have a way of cancelling each other out as such. And in those three matches, we've not really seen a ton of individual brilliance. I'm talking about the Community Shield, the game at the Emirates, which Martinelli scored late on in with a deflected shot, and then this one here today. I think Foden playing off the left, I don't think it's his best position. I think at times he can almost become a bit too predictable in terms of how he's going to be approaching the game from that standpoint. And then Silva himself, I think there were times when he would come in and roam, and I think Doku, when he came on, he went past a few people, but it was that final ball. But it was always going to be an issue for them because, as Stevie said, it's perfection that's needed. When you look in the box and you've got a Tomiyasu, you have a Gabriel, you have a Saliba, you've got a Rice waiting in there. You've got a Partey, or previously before that, you had a Jorginho. They put bodies in the right areas. They're superbly well drilled. So, yes, I was disappointed. But then also to mention, I think De Bruyne at this stage right now, it doesn't seem to me like he's 100% fit. There are elements of the game where he's probably frustrated that his impact isn't as great. But then again, when you play against a side like Arsenal, they won't really allow it to be an end-to-end game. And if you don't manage to get in front of them early doors, they'll park up right in front of you, but then also still have that potential threat behind as well.
I don't think we should underestimate the fact that Arsenal's manager is Arteta. Teams have tried to just basically block City off for years. And just that little extra piece of ability or know-how.
Because he's been there.
Well, he's been there and done it. It's one thing to sit and watch videos, but it's another thing to know what's going on inside the players' heads. Because he knows all the things that Guardiola is wanting them to do. He's constantly at them about little things and do this. And all this movement is all about getting an edge. And so if you've got that sort of knowledge and you've got good defenders like Arsenal have, that is huge. That's the difference between losing a game and getting a point.
Let's talk about Erling Haaland, shall we? Of course, hasn't quite put in the same sort of performances that we saw last season, where he just captured all the headlines. In this game today, clearly cut a frustrated figure for out. Before we hear from Jan, of course, every day after these big games, we have digital features on our ESPN FC YouTube channel. This is what Stuart Robson had to say about Haaland's performance.
I know that Jan Aage Fjortoft won't like me saying this, but I'm still very upset with what I see from Erling Haaland. If you want to be the world's best centre-forward, you can't just base it on scoring goals. You have to be the all-round player. And when Man City are pressed high up the field and the goalkeeper has to go from back to front, the centre-forward has to hold the play up. He has to link up the play. And at the moment, I don't see him doing that. So that for me, is a slight weakness in Man City.
Shall I comment on that, Dan?
I would love you to comment on that. Yes, please, Jan.
Well, listen. First of all, let's have the fact clear here. Apparently, he scored 52 goals last season without touching the ball. So that was a performance, by the way. But I agree that his hold-up play today wasn't good. You've seen when he came back from his injury that he maybe doesn't have the kind of balance in his game, the timing that you need to get into the game. But I think that it's quite simple just to analyze him based on a game like today. He has improved his link-up play, but it's also a fact that his touches, he doesn't have many touches in a game anyway. Listen, this young Norwegian, he got 29 goals this season. He got 18 in the Premier League and so on and so on. And yes, we should compare him with himself last season. But I think that is too simple. His link-up play has been better. It wasn't good today, but we should also give compliment to Saliba and Gabriel that did a great job on him today. And sometimes I think, and I said that earlier as well, sometimes I don't think Manchester City take the best out of him either, because he needs that space, and then you can't just have touches and touches and touches on the left side or on the right side. There is no space to go into.
I think I would prefer my centre-forward to score goals. I'd rather he did that than be the greatest hold-up player.